Welcome to Elite Expert Insider Podcast, where we will inspire, motivate, and educate entrepreneurs, innovators, and growth seekers. Brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, making the best and brightest in the industry #1 best-selling authors. 80% of people say they want to write a book. We're assuming that's the same for you. If so, contact us at www.eliteonlinepublishing.com and make your book a reality. Hey everyone, it's Melanie Johnson with another great podcast for you with Jen Foster, my business partner. How you doing, Jen?
Doing great. How's everyone today?
Good. Well, I'm doing super over here. We want to make sure we have another great podcast for you, but we want to make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and leave comments for us. And we always love to hear from you. Tell us what you want to, if you want certain guests on, we'd love to hear that too. Jen and I are owners of Elite Online Publishing, where we make all our authors #1 bestsellers and market their books to help them with their business. So if you're interested in writing or publishing a book, please contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com and you can submit your information right there. So today we are going to talk about how sometimes it can take longer than you think to get your business started. Our guest, Mark Henson, said it took 18 years to really make his dream come true. We're going to hear that story. And then part of that story was finding his superpower in the middle of that. And now he's become a specialist at how to find your superpower. And I'm a true believer. I think superpowers evolve over as you get older. You know, you equate different superpowers, and it's hard to tap into your genuine one from when you were a kid. So we're going to, if you're interested in that, stay tuned with us. Again, make sure you subscribe. And Mark, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Very excited to be here with such experts in this field and helping people kind of reach their dreams and achieve those kinds of things that they wanted to achieve through publishing and writing books. And having been through that process myself, I know there is a huge need for what you do, for sure.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark, kind of where you're from and about your business and how you got started in this.
Sure. I'm originally from Michigan, so I know I have that in common with at least one of you. I actually grew up in Michigan, and I went to school in Oklahoma, moved back to Michigan, ended up in Columbus, Ohio, of all places. And my background is actually in radio broadcasting. That's what I went to college for. That's what I thought I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I had a blast doing it for about 10 years and decided after being fired 3 times and being cleared out of radio stations with an entire, like wiping clean of the slate, firing all the staff, changing the format. After the 3rd time that happened, I decided radio's not for me anymore. And I decided to enter a whole different field. So I actually went into the field of design for a while, worked as a copywriter and an information designer for a large branding and design agency in Columbus, Ohio. And did that for several years, absolutely loved it. Along the way, fell in love with the creative process about how to generate better ideas, how to be more creative, how to be more innovative, how to let your hair down, all of that. And I discovered along the way by doing a lot of that work at the company that I was in that the environment that you work in has an awful lot to do with kind of how you feel in your work environment and how creative you can be in it. If you work in a really boring environment, you tend to not have as great of ideas and not be as stimulated and excited about what you do. I've fortunately worked in a great company with great facilities that just inspired creativity. And I decided somewhere along the way that most people didn't get that opportunity to work in an environment like that. So I wanted to build one for people to come and use whenever they wanted to, so that they could be more creative and teams could be more collaborative, much more comfortable environment than a typical office environment. And so I built one. And that was 18 years ago, almost 19 years ago. I built the first version of my business called Sparkspace, which was this tiny little 900 square foot meeting space that people could come rent. But it was very creative and it was very loft-like. It had brick walls and wood floors, and it looked like every cool loft you've ever seen on TV. And that took off. And so it slowly grew over the years into what it is now. Now we're opening up our 6th room here in our space. We have almost 10,000 square feet now, and it's just it's a really fun business because we get to help people have their best meetings ever, and we help them transform what's happening on their team from whatever problems they might be having, whether they're trying to think about a bigger, better future, or whether they're having some internal challenges and obstacles to get over. We provide the space and the services to help them think through those in an environment that is just really inspiring and comfortable and fun.
Well, I love that you call it a retreat. So most shared office spaces, first, number one, you were way ahead of your time. I mean, 18 years ago, people were not thinking of that. So that's really cool that you could see that far ahead. And you call it a retreat center. And I love that you're saying that you kind of help them solve their problems along the way. So show the benefit. I mean, I think I was talking to a banker the other day from the old school, and he's like, oh, I used to be so gruff and such a tough leader. And I thought, man, things have changed a lot. I mean, you can't get away with some of that stuff anymore. No one wants to work in that type of culture. Number one, so what do you think your space adds to the culture of a company? And what are you seeing as a trend for cultures in companies?
Sure. Yeah, things have changed an awful lot over the last 20 years. When we started this business, we were the only thing like it. There were a couple of other examples in like Chicago and Austin, which is a very creative city. But other than that, nothing. And so, people worked for the most part 20 years ago in a lot of gray office spaces and gray cubicles in really that 1950s corporate mentality still. And over the last 20 years, it's really been shifting a lot towards a much more future thinking, modern type of thinking environment and culture. So some of it has to do with space and the environment that they build around their people every day. But a lot of it does have to do with, we've changed the way we work. We've changed the way that we treat each other at work. We've changed the way we manage people, and rightfully so, because the way that it was going was just not working. And so now things are much more collaborative. Now it's not all top down. It's more, across the board collaborative. Everybody has good ideas. It's not just the boss telling everybody what to do. And that's why I think our space still succeeds, is because we are really wired for that. It is built to be a collaborative space. And we've seen the trend in offices kind of go that direction. Now there's a lot more shared collaborative space within corporate offices. And we've also seen the rise of co-working spaces for the independent class, where it's a lot of gathering spaces. It's a lot of places where people can get together and share ideas and bounce things off of each other a lot. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, we were a little ahead of our time, which was great. It's always great to be the pioneer, but it's continued on that trend. And so we've been able to kind of shift and evolve along with it. And we continue to grow as well. So that's a really good sign, I think.
Well, I think it's really important, like you said, to be able to evolve and adapt to the world changing, because business, like you said, is changing and has been changing. And when you stay in that cubicle space, you can't grow. So I think that's great. So
and we continue to evolve too. We actually set a vision in place for ourselves to move from just what we called a transactional meeting space, which is what we've been for a long, long time. And we've been transitioning from a transactional meeting space to a transformational retreat company. So it's more than just the space. It's about, how do we help you once you're in the space? Like, we want to provide a great environment, but we also want to help you with other tools and other skills that we can help you develop as a leader or as a team member or as a team overall.
So what are some of those things that you provide to get skills to be a leader and tools? Give us an example.
Some of it is just flat out really good facilitation. So when people have meetings, they tend to try to do it all themselves, and the boss tries to lead the meeting, or he taps somebody, anoints them to lead the meeting. And they don't always have the skills to do that. Like, facilitating a great meeting is a skill all to itself. So one of the things that we offer is we help people design their meetings, design their agendas, figure out what it is they want to accomplish during their retreat or during their meeting. And then we help them build that out. And we'll even facilitate that process for them so that they can all be immersed and involved in their meeting, including the boss. So often the boss has great ideas and would be a great participant, but doesn't really know how to do that because they have to lead the meeting. So we try to get everybody involved and all the stakeholders to participate at a much more equal level, which is a big deal. So that's one of the things. And then there's always, on teams, you get 2 or more people together, there's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be differences of ideas and opinions, competing agendas, all of that. So how do you build those communication skills so that people can talk about things in a collaborative way rather than a competitive way? That I haven't seen actually change in the entire time I've been in business. That I think will always be an issue because it's just human nature. We're always going to fight for what we believe in. And if we can't find ways to find that middle ground and compromise and figure out what's best for the greater good and move forward on that, then we're always going to get stuck in those conflicts.
Yeah. You had a question, Jen, you were going to ask earlier.
Yeah, I was just going to just move into the superpower part. So
yeah.
through this evolution really of the meeting space, you found your superpower. So I think part of that is what you were just talking about is, learning that there is ways to facilitate a meeting and that the boss shouldn't be in charge of the meeting, all of those kind of things. So tell us a little bit more about how you found that superpower.
Yeah. So I believe in the concept of superpowers, that we all have these 2 or 3 greatest talents and abilities. And the definition of a superpower, I call them ordinary superpowers, by the way, because those 2 or 3 things that really set us apart, where we contribute our best to the world around us, we very often think are very ordinary. They're just wired into us, so they're kind of normal to us. It's just how we operate. It's how we roll. And so we fail to realize how special and unique those are until we stop and figure out, this is how I contribute the best. I need to own this. Much like the origin story of any superhero, right? They discover they have these powers, and then they have that moment of decision, like, am I actually going to let the world know that I have these abilities, or am I going to continue to hide and be the person I was before? So my process, I actually built my business using my superpowers, and I just didn't even know it. So for the first 10 years of my business, I was building and creating and using my superpowers, which are exploring new things and simplifying ideas and communicating through writing and speaking. And I used those powers all the time when I was building my business. And then about 10 years into the business, I decided the business needed to grow beyond kind of the building stage, and what's next. So I hired a coach. Coach came in and he asked me this question, and he said, what's your mission? And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, well, my business is to build my business. My mission is to build Sparkspace. It's what it's always been, and it's what it continues to be. And he kind of looked around, and he called me on my BS there, and he said, it's already built. So like, now what are you going to do? And unfortunately, like, his intention was good. His heart was in the right place, and the question was spot on. But I answered it the wrong way for me. And what I did at that point is I said, well, I guess my mission now is to manage and administrate this thing that I just built for the last 10 years. And it was that moment where I stepped off the right path and I stepped onto the wrong path. But it looked like the right path because it was what the business needed, but it wasn't what I should have been doing. So I became the administrator manager of this business instead of the creator builder of the future of this business. And I did that, and I did it fairly well for years. And I found myself depressed. I found myself wanting to quit. I found myself not wanting to get up and go to work every day in a business that I loved, which was so weird to me. And in retrospect and getting some counseling and everything else, I realized that I actually went into a long-term, low-level depression that I couldn't shake. And I describe it like that, those Claritin commercials on TV where there's a little fog over the screen, but you don't know it until the end of the commercial where they peel it back and you're like, holy cow, there's a whole colorful world out there that I'm not even seeing. That's kind of where I was. I was in that fog. And when I finally decided what I need to do is I need to go back to doing what I do best. I need to use my superpowers. I need to get back to that sense of exploration and discovery and building and simplifying and communicating and all those things I'd done so well for so long. When I got back to that, I got to peel back that fog. And I finally hired somebody who had the superpowers to actually run and administrate the business. Yeah. So now I get to create and have fun and do podcast interviews and things like that. So that's a long story, but it's like super critical in my journey and how I kind of went from being that entrepreneur startup guy to then losing my way for a while and then getting back to being kind of who I really am by using my superpowers.
Well, I love that you say it's your ordinary superpower, because a lot of times people say, well, I don't know, I don't think I have a superpower. Well, it's that ordinary thing that just comes natural to you. That's your superpower. And I love that the master creator, kind of like the Legos, you're the master creator builder. So
Yeah.
master builder, that's what they call it on Legos. So I think
When I work,
identify that, to identify when you are on the wrong path and how to go back to what you're best at, what your superpower is.
and the dangerous part about the wrong path is it so often looks so similar to the right path. And the way I describe it is like the paths, they look so similar at first. It's just that the wrong path is like half a degree off. And at first you don't even notice that, but the longer you stay on that, the wider that gap becomes, until one day you realize, oh, I am really not happy doing what I'm doing, or I'm really not having the impact I really should be having or could be having. And it's because I made this choice and I got on this wrong path. And we do that very often because there's so many predefined paths in life. Like, in order to succeed, I need to follow this path within this company and rise up through the ranks and be a manager here and a manager here and do this and do that and eventually land in this corner office somewhere. And, that's just been the way it's worked forever and ever. And I think people are starting to wake up now that, oh, there's a lot of different ways to go about being successful or finding fulfillment. And I don't have to follow those prescribed paths anymore.
And I really enjoy what you were saying. We have a client, Kimberly Powell, who says, you can't be a coach and a player. You got to be one or the other. So I think that's where you became a player by being the manager, and instead of being the coach, which was really what you thrived at, was being the coach and directing the team and making it grow and be better. So you can't be both. We struggle with that in our company all the time, trying to say, hey, we got to figure out what we do best, what we love to do, and let everybody else do something else. And I think it's so true to talk to parents who have young kids, that even as an adult, you still are trying to figure out, like, you started out in radio and you thought, this is my passion, this is what I wanted to do. And different things told you, no, this is not it, I need to find something else. And you used a different part of your superpower and talents and gifts that you had to thrive in a different way. So I tell people, don't get discouraged if you have to change paths. It's not like you made a mistake. Everything leads down to the journey to get you where you're supposed to be. So I think that's so true. Tell us about your coaching program. You have a little bit of it looks like a coaching program for people to get involved with you.
Yeah, so I now coach people on how to discover their superpowers, because I went through that myself and it was so powerful for me. Me being the sort of builder creator, I wanted to create something that helped other people do the same thing. Because I look around too and I see just every day how unhappy people are and how out of alignment they are, how they're in jobs they don't like. And if you believe all those Gallup polls and statistics that say, 50 to 80% of people are either unhappy, disengaged, or actively disengaged with their current situation, their job, their relationships, whatever. I'm like, that starts to look like a pretty miserable world to me. So I wanted to do what I could to help, because I helped myself, and by getting some external help, as well as going through a process that I felt my way through. And then, so that's what I encourage with other people. So I have a book, and I have a workshop, a retreat that I do called the Superpowers Summit, which helps people discover their superpowers. So I think you can discover your superpowers, but then you have to figure out how to articulate those powers to the world. And then you have to, you don't have to, I guess you can choose to enhance those powers. You can figure out how to avoid your kryptonite, and you can eventually multiply your powers by then partnering up and teaming with other people in a more effective way. Because everybody has their own unique set of powers. Yours are different than mine. And if we collaborate with those powers, just imagine what we could achieve. I'm kind of a lone wolf person too. So this is a lesson I've had to learn because I want to do everything myself. And I want to build some pretty great things sometimes. And I try to do it all by myself, and I just can't. So in order for me to multiply my impact on the world, I have to partner my powers with the powers of other people. And so that's one of the final lessons in the book and in the workshop that we do.
Great. When you can get the book, Ordinary Superpowers, on Amazon, right?
Yes. Amazon, iTunes, and Audible.
Awesome.
Although I just noticed the other day that there was one review on Audible, and it's a horrible, horrible review. So don't pay no attention to that review because it's a really good book. It was a weird review because like on Amazon, I have like 50 like 5-star reviews that are honest to goodness. Like I did not even tell people to go do that. They just went out and did it because they liked the book. And then there's only one review on Audible. And it's this guy's like, it's superpowers. Just go use your superpowers. That's all you need to know. It's like, wow.
There's always naysayers out there.
There's always naysayers. Yeah. So that's one thing about using your superpowers too, is there's always going to be people that say, oh, you shouldn't do that. Or, oh, you should stay on that path. Or you're even worse. You're so good at doing what you're doing now. Why would you want to change and do something else? And it's like, well, because it's more true to me. It's more in alignment with who I really am. It's the authentic me. And that's all I want to encourage people to do is be 100% you, love who that is, and use that person to make a difference.
Yeah. So true. And I want to change it. People always say we're going to have a meeting, but I like to say we're going to have a retreat. We're going to have a 1-hour retreat with everyone today. That totally shifts your mindset, right? If you're going to a retreat with all your people at the office, or you're going to a meeting. I think your expectations definitely different when you hear those two words. There's like
and most people, they recoil at the word meeting. Because meetings are horribly ineffective. They're way too long. They get off track. There's just way too many of them in the first place. It's weird. Like we encourage people to not have so many meetings, even though we're in the meeting business. I mean, we host about 700 meetings every year here at our space. But I'm a firm believer that there are just way too many meetings in the world. If you whittled that down and you treated them like a retreat, and you put much more, a different kind of energy into a retreat than you ever do a meeting. You just endure meetings. Like you actively participate in retreats. That's a huge difference.
Very big.
Very big. Well, tell everyone where they can find you, where they can get more information about you.
Okay, you can find out about Sparkspace, my business, which is in Columbus, Ohio, but we accept meetings from anywhere in the world. You can come and have a meeting here. That's at sparkspace.com. And then my personal work on Superpowers and the coaching and the workshop, you can find everything, including the book, at markhenson.me. Or if that's too hard to remember, superpoweredlife.com also gets you to the same place.
Awesome.
Terrific.
Those links are at the bottom.
Thanks for coming, Mark. We appreciate that. So make sure you look him up. Remember to have retreats instead of meetings. Remember to collaborate and look for your superpower, the thing that you do that's ordinary, that comes easy to you, and that you do really well, that you might not think is a superpower, but it is to other people. Also, remember to subscribe, because we always have wonderful guests on here that help make your day and your life better. I'll tell you, I learn something every single time we have an interview here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we love to hear from you. And if you have a book you'd like to publish, make sure you reach out to Jen and I at eliteonlinepublishing.com. And also, we're launching our daily planners. So if you're looking to set your goals, achieve more, accomplish more, be more organized, look for Elite Daily Planners. We're coming out with a whole suite of them. We have some out now, but we're just going to have a bunch coming out. So there'll be a cover that will speak to you. So check those out as well. We'll see you next time.
If you'd like to create the most powerful advertising tool for your business, contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com, where we will help you create, publish, and make your book a #1 bestseller, and show you how to get new leads and more revenue for your business. If you'd like to check us out on our Facebook page, we have a free book for you as our gift. Just go and click Free Book. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment for our podcast. We would love to hear from you.